Hey witches, Dawn here, and welcome to another episode of Shadow Magic Monday. And Shadow Magic Monday is a playlist, so it will show up at the end of this video. And basically, I am sharing tips, techniques, and different ideas for shadow work that hopefully will help you on your path. Anyway, and so I want to share with you today the first step in protecting your boundaries. And I want to say that this topic is probably the most difficult for me to teach because there are so many exceptions and variations, and it depends on your belief systems and your situation, who you're dealing with, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do my best to give you just the basics so that you can get started and you can start working on protecting your boundaries. So the first step in learning how to protect your boundaries is first recognizing whether you are in ego or you are in spirit. If you are in a situation where somebody is verbally attacking you, the first response is to protect yourself, right? And to try and attack them. Well, you're a stupid head too. And, stuff like that. So your response to them is either going to inflame the situation or it's going to calm the situation down, depending on how you respond to that person. I've been in several situations where the person was venting and I recognized it. It wasn't me they were really upset about. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And what I did is let them vent. I just let them, talk about all the horrible things that were happening, and basically I was part of the problem, and so on and so forth, and just let them vent and say. And after that person was done, I said that I basically responded with, I'm going to look into it and see what I can do about it. And the person just went, okay. They couldn't continue the ranting with that kind of response from me. I did not yell. I did not get upset. I was very calm, and I think my camera's crooked. I can't touch it. Okay. You're just gonna have to put up with it. I think it's crooked. Yes, it is. It is. It is. Sorry. Okay, I think it's better. True. Anyway, so and the problem was is that this person was one of many people in my workplace that felt like they weren't being heard. And we see a lot of that with situations in, like, you've got wage earners. Okay, they earn a wage and they are on the assembly line in a factory. And then you have the people who are running the line, who are supervising, who are making salaries that are making a lot of money. Okay, basically there's a disconnect between the two groups, and it's almost like, well, I make more money than you, so I'm better than you, I'm more valuable than you. um, and there's a tendency to look down on those people who are just wage earners. And I've seen this in the workplace. And so this person was just unloading, and I happened to be a person who worked in the office. So I happened to be lumped in with everybody else who's causing problems for them. So, but I did not allow that to disturb me from responding as an emotionally mature and self-mastered adult. And when I responded in that way, very calm and loving and compassionate, understanding, he couldn't continue ranting and being angry, because all of a sudden there's somebody who says they're going to do something about it. They're going to look into and they're going to do what they can. And to complete that story, I did go back to him and I printed out the email that I sent out, said, we've got to do something here. This is a mess. And I printed it out and I gave it to him. I swear to God, the guy started tearing up. Nobody had done that. And I noticed that with a lot of different people, that the people who were in charge of solving problems, and they wouldn't go back and give them an update. They didn't go back and say, hey, we're going to fix it, or no, we can't fix it because of such and such. There's no feedback. They were just ignored. Okay, so just understand how you respond to that person is either going to ignite the flames or, throw gasoline on the flames and make things worse, or you can respond in spirit where you feel compassion, you feel love and understanding and empathy for the other person, regardless if you think they're right or wrong, regardless if you think they're doing something good or bad. It doesn't matter. If you respond in a way that is loving, emotionally mature, it's going to make them feel more secure. And it's going to stop the anger. Because how can you be angry at somebody who's responding with love and compassion, right? Okay, so how do you know if you are in ego or you are in spirit? It's very simple. How do you feel? If you do not feel joy, if you do not feel love, peace, calm, if you do not feel safe, then you're an ego. Because spirit only feels light, feels joy, feels happy, feels good. If you don't feel these things, you can't be in spirit. You cannot be in ego and feel good. You cannot be in spirit and feel bad. All right, so that's very simple, basic. Just ask yourself, am I in spirit or am I in ego before I respond to this person? And then if you're not feeling good, the best thing to do is to take a breath. If you're in a situation where you need to respond to them right away, take a breath and recognize that this person is probably in their ego, they're upset for some reason, and the best thing for me to do is respond with compassion. And if I respond with compassion, they'll feel okay to drop that anger and actually communicate with me. That's one of the biggest things. People are in their ego and they want to spout off all the horrible things that are happening, and it's very hard to communicate with somebody and come to an agreement and negotiate and cooperate when somebody is full in their ego and full of anger. But if you can get them to drop that, release that, then they'll come to the table ready to communicate and cooperate. Okay. So the best way to get into spirit that I have found is what I teach to my students, and that's processing your emotions. Writing down, if you have the place and quiet place and where you won't be disturbed, write down what you are feeling, what emotions you're feeling. And I teach in the class the difference between something like loneliness and depression with real emotion, to differentiate. But I think it's going to work just the same if you just write down something like depression or loneliness. I feel lonely. Or whatever it is that you're experiencing. And how intense is that? How intense is it? Is it off the charts? Is it 10 where you can't feel any worse? Or, anything less than that? Just what's the intensity? And when you do that, you have to feel it. You have to sit there for a second. Okay, how intense is this? And that's important. Know and acknowledge, yes, I am feeling this. And this is how intense it is. And write them all down until you can't write anymore. You can't think of anymore. And then you do this breathing. And there's many different ways of doing the processing part. Acknowledging it is very important, and then processing it. You can either do this breathing that I'm going to show you, or you can do emotional freedom technique, which is a tapping. You tap on different places on your face, here and here, and then on your hands, and it's remarkable. It really works very, very well. Or you can do this breathing and meditation exercise, punch a pillow. When you do an exercise, you want to exercise until you are exhausted, and that helps you release that energy from those uncomfortable emotions. I don't want to say they're bad. I don't want to say they're negative. I don't want to say they're toxic, though they tend to end up being toxic because we're not doing anything with them. But they are uncomfortable emotions saying something is not right. I am not an ego. And then to let go of it. So the breathing is a forced inhale and a forced exhale. I mentioned this in the other video. And you do that about 3 to 5 times until you feel a little lightheaded. You don't want to go too long because you don't want to pass out. That's not the goal. The goal is to induce the feeling of what feels like to be in spirit, which is light. So when you give yourself that lightheaded feeling, that is inducing the feeling of being in spirit. And then just on your last exhale, just hold it out for a few seconds. You don't have to hold it out for long, and don't empty your lungs, because that for a lot of people will give them a feeling of panic. But just on your last exhale, just sit there for a few seconds, go, wow, just feel that lightness. Okay. Feel how it feels to be light and tune into it. And that brings more of that feeling of lightness, which is spirit. And you'll notice that the intensity numbers go down. So after you do a round of breathing, go back to your list and feel how intense each item is that you wrote down, and you'll notice they'll start going down. And so you want to keep doing those rounds for 3 or 4 times, and if they're not all the way down to at least a 2, then switch to another technique: meditation, exercise, emotional freedom technique where you're tapping, or something along those lines, just to flush that energy out. Like with the exercise, you're going to induce exhaustion. And what happens after that? You plop on the sofa and relax. When you relax, you let go of all of those uncomfortable emotional energy. You let go of all of it. So that pushes you into spirit, and that brings you into the present moment. And that's where the magic can happen, is when you're in the present moment. So when you're in spirit, you're going to see things the way they really are. You'll see the truth of things. When you're in ego, you're in your childlike defense, and you're going to respond as a child. And that usually does not end well. Okay, so if you be in spirit, you can answer more of on the level of an emotionally mature and self-mastered adult, and that usually goes miles with people. All right, so that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your comments. Please let me know what you think and how you feel about this. And hopefully you like these videos. Give me a thumbs up, of course, but also you can, it is in a playlist, so watch the other ones. And do let me know what you think and are experiencing as a result, okay? Do something today that makes you feel good and brings you joy. I love you all. And until next time, blessed be.